Hello. Hi. How are you guys? Good. Thank you very much for coming. So, travel is finally back. Long time waiting. Am I close enough? Okay. So, we were just waiting a couple of more minutes, but I think we're ready to go. It's just a little after 5 o'clock now. Hello, everybody. On the Zoom. I don't know how many people are on the Zoom, but welcome. And I'm going to introduce to you Philip. Philip is from Tour 10 Vacations. He is organizing the trip behind the scenes for us. So everything, wonderful things they have done for us in the past. Um, they actually organized our last trip that we came ahead to South Africa. And I think people remember how amazing that trip was. So without further ado, Philip from Phuket.
Thank you. Thanks for the introduction. Good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. You heard my name is Philip Solomon. I'm with Tour Vacation. Very often people say, well, we heard about you, and that's okay. We are a tour operator, we need supply. So we work in the background and put together the packages that we have done in the past and now in the future as well. And this one going to Greece. Just for your comfort, for those of you who don't know our company, we have been around for 35 years, and we kind of specialize in exotic destinations, Greece and Turkey as well. So I'm going to be talking to you this evening, give you a little bit of an update of what's going on in terms of the itinerary. We're going to talk about glorious Greece, which is going to take place between May and June. Now, you also see in front of you that I have a number of items. I have a microphone, I have the laptop, there's some people on Zoom. I have to change the slides. So if I get confused during the process, just bear with me. But let's move on. And this is what we're going to talk about in the next 30, 35 minutes or so. I'm going to give you some information about what you need to know prior to travel to Greece. And then we're going to do a little bit of an overview of the itinerary itself. So I think it's important that you know what to expect before you go. So one of the many questions that we often ask is, how do we get there? In this instance, we're going to be making use of Air Canada. They have direct flights non-stop between Toronto and Athens. So it's easy. You leave here in the evening, you get in the next morning. So it's a non-stop flight across. And it's about 9.5 hours, 9 hours 50 to get from Athens, from Toronto through to Athens. Okay. Again. There we go. A little aircraft, 9 hours and 30 minutes to get into Athens. Very important. Things have changed a lot in the industry. You've probably read about it, you've seen it when it comes to luggage, carry-on, and restrictions in terms of luggage. So if you go to the Air Canada website and you go under the luggage section, you'll find this information. So you are allowed to take on 2 pieces onto the aircraft itself. Very strict restrictions in terms of what you can do in terms of the carry-on wheelie itself. So you're allowed one of those, and then the smaller items that you can see there, a purse or a man bag that you can carry on with you. 1 piece of luggage to check in, 23 kilograms. In terms of documents, very easy traveling to Greece, not like many other destinations where you may need a visa to get in. You do not need a visa. All you need is your passport, and your passport must be valid for at least 6 months after your return. So this is kind of a standard in the travel industry that is required. So please make sure, check the date on your passport to make sure that it's valid for 6 months after your return. In terms of health requirements, the most important thing that you need to do is to check with your doctor or health clinic 6 to 8 weeks prior to departure. Just check if there's anything that you need, any inoculations. Up until now, it hasn't really been necessary, but we work in the travel industry, not the health industry, so we're not allowed to give out a yay or a nay. Just make sure that you check, and they will tell you if anything is required to go into Greece. Another question we often ask is, well, what's it going to be like in May and June? I think we've chosen a very good time to travel. You're actually coming out of the, well, let's say the winter months, but cooler months in Greece. and heading into slightly warmer terrain type temperatures at that time. Very comfortable temperatures, as you can see on the screen. They're kind of consistent throughout 24, 23, 22 degrees. Minimums are around 50 degrees. You're talking about overnight and maybe early morning. So very, very comfortable. At first, perhaps going in August and September, temperature can actually go to the 35 and 40 degrees. It's also a lot more windier at that time of the year. So good choice for choosing late May into June. And of course, the next question I might be asked is, well, what do I pack? What do I have to take with? Well, the answer to that is pretty easy, in that you pack according to the temperature. So you know it's going to be somewhere around 20s. You need to keep yourself comfortable. Light, easy clothing. It's a casual destination. One very important thing that I always recommend to travelers is, if you're going to destinations such as this, you're going to be doing a bit of walking, make sure that you have very comfortable walking shoes. I also put in brackets warm in, and not to purchase shoes 3 days before you depart and then go off and do some walking under very uneven terrain. So that's quite something you can take note of. You will need a light jacket and a rack for the evenings and early mornings. So perhaps if you're going out on a catamaran, you opt to do something like that. So really, it's casual throughout. But you may want to pack in a smart, casual, maybe trousers and a nice shirt, ladies' cocktail dress, for going out in the evenings, or also for the welcome dinner that we're going to have at the first island that we're going to visit, Santorini. What's included? So Naki will go into this in a lot more detail when he goes through that flyer that he's handed out to you with the pricing. But just to give you an idea, the items that are included are as follows. Your international airfare and the taxes are included. All the accommodations that I'm going to share with you, the information pertaining to that. Your transfers when you arrive in Athens and when you depart. We've included some sightseeing in Athens, which you'll get to see. I'll explain that in a little while. And then all the ferry crossings. So going to all the different islands, starting in Athens and taking you all the way back. Breakfast is included, and we've also got a welcome dinner at Maestros, which is in Santorini. And my apologies for some of the Greek terminology. I hope that I don't offend anybody here, maybe Greek. The other thing is, again, what these things cost. I've kind of become hesitant of putting these slides into my presentation because, you know, what is a euro today? A euro 50 by June or July. But this will kind of give you a sense of some cost involved in traveling through Greece. So, half a liter of water, you're looking at about a euro. In a restaurant itself, €3 and more. A half a liter of wine, talking about a quarter liter, not a half, a quarter liter is €8. A bottle of wine is about €25, and we're really talking about local wines. And by the way, there's some very good local wines even on the island of Santorini. You'll be able to try some of those. And we're talking about an average style restaurant, you'll pay about €25. A two-course meal, and then let's talk about going to a taverna or pub around Athens. Probably around €30 starting, which will be 2 courses, standard and the main course. Gives you an idea. Some of the islands may be starting at €55 per person. Some of the popular foods, you're probably familiar with them yourself, souvlaki, which is meat on a skewer, and there's plenty of these stored along the way. You can actually buy food at the streets, and therefore you will only pay about €3 or €4 for something like a souvlaki, which is meat on stick. The other option is to do the pita stuffed meat. Again, you can get these when you are walking through the Plaka or the different islands for lunch, about €3 to €4 per person. Beer, you have it about €4.55 for beer. Not too bad, but that's what it is now. So just watch the exchange rate as we move into May. So there's some information, some general information about what you need to know prior to travel. I'm going to touch on the itinerary and give you some idea of what you can expect as you make your way to Greece. So your itinerary is going to start in Athens, and we're going to visit 3 islands. The islands are Santorini in the south, then go up to Paros, and then up to Mykonos. 5 nights, 3 nights, 2 nights. 2 nights in Athens, 1 night on arrival, and then also 1 night prior to coming back to Toronto. So on arrival in Athens, you'll be met at the airport. Our local representative will be there to transfer you to your hotel, and a little bit of time maybe to freshen up, and we're going to get started. You're going to be doing your sightseeing that very afternoon. And the sightseeing is very close to the hotel. And the accommodations that we are providing you is a hotel called the Ibis Star, which is classified as a 4-star property. It's pretty hip, I would say, colorful. It is modern. And really, you're there for 2 nights, 1 on arrival, 1 on departure, and you can kind of get a sense. It does provide very comfortable accommodation and easy walking distance of the Parker restaurants and the Acropolis, although we will be taking you by bus to the Acropolis where you'll be doing your sightseeing. So that's one of the first places we're going to go to, is the Acropolis, of course, dominated by the beautiful Parthenon. Just some general information for you. The interesting thing about the Acropolis is often regarded as the upper city, and the reason, and you'll find this in many of the small cities around Greece, that they all had an Acropolis. I don't know what the plural is of Acropolis, I don't know if it's Acropoli, but you find it throughout Greece. And the reason why they created those was when in times of invasion, people were able to go to higher ground and find some protection there. And the same would apply to all the buildings that they would put up on higher ground to protect them from invaders. So we're going to spend some time there. And you can see in terms of time itself, it's about 10 minutes from the hotel, 25-minute walk, easy and very comfortable. I would even suggest that when we finish the tour and finish in the park, you'll have time to perhaps wander around and have dinner there. Just some visuals for you of what you can see on the Parthenon itself, the Acropolis. You're going to be seeing numerous buildings, numerous temples, including, of course, the beautiful and magnificent Parthenon, just, of course, dedicated to the goddess Athena. Has a long, interesting history, but that's not for me to do. You will learn all that when you go on the journey itself. But interestingly enough, Greece, of course, like many of the other destinations in that region, many wars that took place. So people who came in changed the use of the Parthenon itself. So at one point it was a temple, it turned into a church, it became a mosque at one particular point in time, and then when the Turks came in, they used it for a place to actually store their gunpowder. So it has a very interesting history, but I also want you to take note and talk about wearing comfortable shoes. There are plenty of uneven surfaces up on that level, so please take note of that as well. One other interesting site that you're going to see is the Odeon of Atticus. So this is really on the southern slope of the Acropolis itself, and you can see that it has been restored, and they still use it today for theatre and music events. One of the sites that you also get to see there, and of course the magnificent temple of Athena and Nike, Athena being the goddess of wisdom, and Nike, the goddess of victory. So you now understand why Nike took on the slogan Nike. So that makes it pretty interesting. A couple of shots for you. This is actually one of the trees on the temple of Athena, Nike, and some of the other ruins. Now on the slopes on the Acropolis, moving down is the Plaza. We're going to go and do a little walk through there as well. The Plaza was actually constructed on the ruins of ancient Athens itself. So it really is a historical neighborhood, very easy to walk around, cobblestones, and this lovely maze of streets and alleyways, home to many tavernas, pubs, restaurants, and some interesting sights to see there as well. The other interesting thing is North has been inhabited since for about 3,000 years, one of the oldest areas in the region that has had a continuous amount of people living there. Just some ideas for you of what we're going to see strolling through the park itself. It's beautiful, it's easy to get about. And as I said, you could opt perhaps after the tour to actually stay there and enjoy some dinner. Beautiful cobblestone, lots of cafes. Beautiful walkways. So that's your first night. So you're going to have a busy day from the time that you arrive going through, but I always say that your adrenaline or person's adrenaline is pretty hyped at that particular point. You're excited to be there. So you'll have a good night's sleep. The next day, you're going to head down to the island of Santorini. How do we get there? We're going to be making use of the high-speed ferry. That's about 5 hours going down. So for those of you who say that it's a bit of a long way to go, but also think it's going to be an opportunity to relax, acclimatize, and also catch up on a little bit of sleep after the day before activities. So there you go. Welcome to the island of Santorini. Interesting island, of course, which you know that it's pretty high and built up almost on hills or mountains. But that was all really created by a volcano that happened way back in the 1500s, that it really shaped the whole Santorini itself. It's not particularly big, 80 kilometers long. A couple of things you can take note of there. One of the foods that is very popular is fava. Now, we all know fava is fava beans, but their fava is actually peas. And they make a very similar to hummus. Hummus, hummus, whichever one you like. But remember, this one is made from peas. The other thing, interestingly enough, is that Santorini is also known for their wine. And there are some options if you want to do that. You're only free time to go and visit some of the wineries. I mean, they've been doing wine there since ancient times, but you won't be tasting any of those. So, here you go. Accommodations, beautiful property that was selected there, a 4-star property called Maestro Village, which is created like a little village itself, a typical Greek village. In fact, as we go through all the accommodations, we'll probably see they're very similar in terms of their design, white and blue, and village style, village-like. And this is where you can spend some time at the pool and to give you an idea of what the property actually looks like. Beautiful, comfortable accommodation. There we go. The village itself, or the hotel, is in a town called Carterados. So it's very close to this village. It's in the village itself. So you are able to go and stroll and go and to the local restaurants. You can go to try some of the local dishes. And you can also do a variety of activities from this place as well. Carterados, high up. So you have really stunning views of the ocean as well as Santorini itself. Lots of churches on most of the islands you will see. So some ideas for you, if you're going to be there for 5 nights, some of the things that you can do on Santorini. Of course, there are plenty of beaches. One is called Carterados Beach, which is about 8 minutes drive from the hotel. 25-minute walk to get to the beach itself. Beautiful, black, and also created by the lava period of time. You can go to another beach called the Red Beach. That's 11 kilometers away, and it's about a 22-minute drive. And I just want to tell you that there is a very effective bus system on most of the islands, and you can also make use of taxi. And remember, there'll be a number of you. You may opt to travel 4, 6 people at a time, if you wish to do so. Other beaches, 20 minutes away, Perivolos, And you may also consider the following. You are going to be there for 5 days. So these aren't items that are included in the itinerary, but I thought I would just share some ideas with you if you didn't want to just spend all your time at the beach or lying or walking through the village itself. There are other things that you can do on the island itself. So you could do a private, now I say private because if you did this as a couple or maybe 4 people, you can do a catamaran around the island itself, and it starts off at about $200. But obviously, if you are more people and you decide to do more at a time, it will bring down the cost. That's about 5 hours. You can do a bus tour of the island itself, which goes to that red beach that I mentioned to you. It goes to a winery, so you can do some tasting over there, visit some of the towns. Again, this is about $90. It's approximately, it's a full day tour, 6 to 8 hours, so you may consider that. And there's some tours that actually just go to various villages throughout the island itself. Again, I put this as a private tour, but you don't have to do it on a private basis, or if you want to do it, obviously bring that cost down. So these are estimated costs based on semi-private or private. There are plenty more opportunities if you want to look at other options. So all the hotels, when you are there, will be able to provide you with that information if you wish to do that when you are on the ground itself. Some people may be interested in trying out some of the other islands which are close to Santorini, 2 in particular. So Ios, very close, it's about 35 minutes away by ferry, and Naxos, which is a bit further away. So it could take anywhere between 1 to 3 hours to get there, depending on the type of ferry that you take on a particular day. So they're not too far away. Santorini over here, that's Ios, and then Naxos up there. These you can do as day trips in the 5 days that you are staying on the island of Santorini. So after your stop in Santorini, we're going to move up to our next stop, and that is the island of Paros. How are we going to get there? This time we're going to make use of a ferry. Sailing time about 3 hours, over 3 hours. Pretty comfortable, beautiful island. Again, very typical, white and blue. So welcome to the island of Paros. Interesting, again, some history over here going back about 4,000 years. People have lived continuously on the island for that amount of time. Again, not a very big island, 21 kilometers long. And in ancient times, very famous for its marble mining, marble quarries. Those quarries are now abandoned, so they no longer exist. But there are opportunities to actually go and check them out. The other thing that's pretty interesting on the island itself, in the capital, well, the capital city, Paris, is a Byzantine church that goes back to the 4th century, which you may be interested to go and see. Paros, like most of the other islands, also home to a ton of fabulous beaches. I would suggest that you go and try some of them out. In terms of accommodations, you'll be staying again at a 4-star property, the beautiful Paros Bay Hotel. And I think I did mention to you right from the beginning that they kind of also have village-style supermarket. Beautiful views of Paros itself and Paros Bay. This gives you a sense of the accommodations that you will experience. Beautiful, comfortable for the 3 nights that you're going to be on the island. Again, since you're going to be there for 3 days, here's some ideas for you during your stay on the island itself. There's some beautiful beaches. Parasporus Beach, which is about a 12-minute walk. It's not so far away. And a couple of other beaches, which are 10 minutes away, 20 minutes away. As I said earlier, for those who are coming, you can make use of taxi. It's an excellent bus service that you can make use of. And the village, or the main village itself, Parikia, is only about 7 to 8 minutes by taxi, so you could probably walk it in about 25 minutes or so. It's pretty easy to do. If you wanted to see more and wanted to go to the east side of the island, again, my pronunciation, Nusa, it's a 20-minute by taxi and about 25 euros to get there. But again, with 4 people in a taxi, you can cut that down. And interesting to have to go and try out, visit some of the other areas. So here's some visuals for you again. This is the main city, Tarikia. You'll definitely spend some time there. It's close enough for you to go and do a walkabout. Or you may want to do the journey to Nusa, which is about 20 kilometers away. Like all the other destinations on the islands, all the islands, they have some fabulous beaches. Parasport Beach, which is about 12-minute walk from the hotel itself. Beautiful location, wonderful beach. Others, again, that I've mentioned to you, you will need to take a taxi or it's a 10-minute taxi drive. I'm talking about probably a 30-minute walk. Some optional activities you may want to consider. There are also bus tours of Paris that you can do. So this, again, is something that you can do once you are on the island itself. Anywhere from about $80 for 6 to 7 hours. You can do a semi-private cruise, similar to what I mentioned Santorini. You can also do similar type of thing in Paros. Again, because it's on a semi-private basis, the cost goes up. But if you have to have more people who want to join in, you can negotiate to get that price down. And then we also spoke right at the beginning. I mentioned to you that Paros was famous for, in ancient times, for its quarries and marble. So they actually have a little workshop on the island where you can go spend 3 hours. You can do some carving and chiseling and kind of create something spectacular from marble. Vines was constantly in thousands of pieces. So I just didn't have the knack. But give it a shot. It's only 3 hours and a nice experience, around about $80 for that wonderful experience. So that's 3 nights on the island of Paros. We're going to head off further north and we're going to go up to the beautiful island of Mykonos. Mykonos is probably renowned as being the party island of Greek Isle. It's only about a 45-minute ferry ride between the high street of to Mykonos itself. You're going to be there for 2 nights, so most of your time is probably going to be wandering around the village itself. Really, it is beautiful and plenty to do within the village itself. Some interesting facts again about Mykonos Island. Renowned for all the churches and temples. There are about 600 right across the island itself. You've probably all have seen visuals of the windmills that were there. They were created specifically for grain production, which goes way back to the 1500s. They're not operational anymore, but they are. Some of them are still there. And the other interesting fact that people don't know that Mykonos was once a pirate hub. So they used to come there, they used to do their looting and food and whatever they did, and they used to come and do their hanging out on the island and do their rum drinking, and maybe, who knows, that was the origin of Mykonos becoming the party capital of the area. Who knows? Like most of the other islands, it has a pretty strict code in terms of the palace. You're really going to find that the windows and doors are white or red or blue. And as I say, you're only going to be there for 2 nights. Not only you'll be there for 2 nights, and you want to spend your time in the village itself. Beautiful property again. The Dionysus Hotel, the little luxury boutique style hotel. Again, kind of that village feel about it. Swimming pool, relax, you don't want to go to the beach. Beautiful accommodation. And again, some who came in a little later, breakfast included at all the properties itself. There are a number of beaches on the island of Mykonos. The town itself, centered 2.5 kilometers away, so very easy walk. Very close to Oronos Beach, 100 meters maximum. And then there's also Platiyalos and Paradise Beach, and then there's Super Paradise. So for those of you into semi-nude and nude sunbathing, you can take note Paradise Beach and Super Paradise. Here's some visuals for you of the island itself. Of course, the windmills we've spoken about. And it is a party town, and there's lots to do in the village itself. You can walk about. The next slide is really one of those iconic visuals that you always see, and that everybody tries to go either to the restaurant or to get a shot of this. But the restaurant is so close to the water, but there are plenty of other places to go as well for meals. This is the beach that's the closest to your hotel, 100 meters away, just around the corner from the visual itself. And if you wanted to go try some of the other beaches in the 2 days that you are there, Platiyalos would be one of them. Platiyalos serves as the gateway to the other beaches where you would get some of the water taxis that would take you across to Paradise, Super Paradise beach. And again, that may be something that you want to do, try. Oh, beautiful. And 2 nights in Mykonos. So just to repeat again, for some of you may have come in a little later, we've again been in Athens for 1 night on arrival, 5 nights in Mykonos, 3 nights in Paros, 2 nights in Mykonos, and then our final night back in Athens. So after our 2 days in Mykonos, we transferred to the port, hop on the ferry, and we will make our way back to the beautiful city of Athens. You'll get in the moment it's time for the late evening time. So you'll have some free time again to go and wander around if you want to go to the plaza or to some other areas for some dinner. And the next morning, back onto Air Canada. It is the departure time, lunchtime. So you may have a couple of hours in the morning to wander around before you're transferred to the airport, which is included. And of course, coming back, the flying time is slightly longer, 10 hours, 50 coming back. Usually the case when you come in a westerly direction. So there you have it. Approximately 14 fabulous days going to Greece, wonderful stay to the island itself. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to share this information, Naki. And I'm going to hand it over to you because I know that you want to talk more about the actual information on the flyer itself. And there's an opportunity for questions as well. So let's, Naki, go through the flyer, and if there are any questions, we'll take them after that. Thank you very much.
All right, so what do you think of the presentation? Great. So Paolo does a great job. Thank you, sir. Yeah. So anybody, I'm going to go through some of the boring stuff on the flyer. He did all the good stuff. Basically, like pricing, everybody knows what it is. Philip just went through everything. Basically is included except for your optional excursions and the meals. Now, other than that, we'll come back to any questions. I just wanted to highlight about the optional tours. Even though we have that, but if we have enough people who are interested in that, right, we will actually rearrange that. So you don't have to worry about when you go over there. If you guys are interested in some of the optional tours, once you're registered, just let me know, and I will try and go them as early as possible. So we're not scrambling for transportation, stuff like that. I was just telling, I think, Jennifer earlier, this year, Greece was one of the top 3 destinations in Europe. So it's going to be very, very popular things this year. So put something ahead of them, that would be better. Now, in terms of registration, we have some forms over here. If you are interested for the registration forms, we have some extra flyers also over there. And I just wanted to know, let you guys know, we are holding about 26 seats. That's a maximum. So anybody is interested, the sooner you guys let me know, the better. We already have 8 people who are confirmed, and I know about 2 or 3 or a couple of who are going to be looking. Most of it today. Is that right? So yeah, the sooner you guys can let me know, the better. And also wanted to let you know, we have a minimum, we are hoping minimum 60 people to run the trip. But the way it's going right now, so we can be assured, well, almost assured that the trip is gonna go through for sure. And final thing is actually you coming up in 10 more days, it's January the 26th. So basically, if you guys are looking now, you know, the deposit was 500, and then the final payment is on January 26th. But maybe you just want to do one shot, but you still have the option of splitting your payments into 2. I think I have covered the most of the details. Now we are open for questions. I would love to answer anything you have. Yes, first one.
It was mentioning earlier about a passport that has to be
6 months
6 months after.
after you return from that. So not 6 months from the date you arrive in Athens, but 6 months the day you leave Athens, from the departure date.
So, but if my wife has to renew her passport, do you have any idea what the turnaround time with Canada as far as renewing the passport?
I think it's definitely better than what it was 6 to 8 months ago. But it all depends. When you have an experience, there you go.
And the county office, and the telephone that the way probably be online, mail, and online. So we were down to the office last week, and we're getting our classes.
Yeah, always better to go to the office than try to do online or going to the new market service Canada, because they actually don't process, they'll just take it and, yeah, so better to go either Scarborough or downtown in North York, where, yeah, sorry, Carl?
I'm logging towards my way for all. Perhaps to have on the end of the tour, be right back after the ones who stay a couple of days extra, they're available and do that for the current flights.
Yeah, so if you're interested in that, you have to let me know early, because what you have to do is book your flights separately. Because what we are doing is full day group allocation with Air Canada. And anything that has to be out of that dates, we have to do what we call the deviation. Yeah, but it can be arranged, but we'll have to know sooner.
If you choose.
If you choose to. Correct? Yeah.
As long as the contract, now I don't see the contract, as long as the contract says there's a minimum.
Yes.
Number that.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure, yeah, one will be the minimum. I've seen the contract.
Okay.
We can meet the minimum. Yeah. All right. Anything else?
What kind of breakfasts will we get in the morning?
They full breakfast, so,
Like hot?
yes, yeah, it will be hot. Yeah, I'm gonna check that, and pastries,
Yeah, it's not
cereal,
really food, but American
eggs.
style.
We'll double check that. As far as I know, it's hot and cold.
Yeah, anybody else? Any other questions? Yes, sir. It's sometimes from Toronto. I think it's 6 o'clock or something.
Yeah,
like that.
it's about 6.
It was on one of the slides. That
Yes,
was-
it is one of the slides. I can go back. Do this. Bear with me. I think it was 6 o'clock, I can't remember offhand. There we go.
Yeah, 6:30.
6:30, and you get in the next morning at 11 a.m.
I think it's sometime in the afternoon.
3 o'clock, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna keep them. There was, the reason was originally we had, actually 2 days in Athens first. But when we were booking on the ferry, we realized, based on the weather conditions, ferries can sometimes not operate. So we did not want to take any chances on a return flight home. So we actually then added, that's why we're coming back to Athens one night earlier. So we kind of had to split that, and then when we split that, then we had to do the tour on the day of the arrival.
We will let you know about the timing, you know, it'll be in the afternoon, and I don't really know whether it's at 2 or 3 in the afternoon. It's booked with a supplier, but timing we will let you.
Yeah,
I got a little bit of an issue with, I'm a US citizen. I have my US passport, it's fine. But then my permanent resident, Canadian, would not be within that 6-month, time period that you talked about. So I don't know if you can answer this question, but my permanent resident card would not be within that 6 months window.
I think they look at the passport.
They only need the passport.
As far as I know,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
I don't want an issue with come back.
I read under the answer to that, but if your permanent residence card is about to expire, you would have to renew it at some point, wouldn't it? Anyway.
Right.
If we want-
But when I'm it comes back,
Oh, yeah, Yes, I can mention that.
it may fall out of that 6 month.
If I was you, I would check it out. I really recommend that, because you know, you may very well arrive there with a US passport, and they're going to ask you possibly, well, you know, why are you here? Well, I'm a resident.
Strictly don't need.
Right.
No, I, since you are.
Yeah, we can take it.
I would have a read.
And one other thing I just quickly wanted to specify on the pricing, the next, if you look at the flyer. Huh? Two sets of price, one is member pricing, one is not member pricing. But anyways, obviously all of these tips are for the benefit of the members, that's why the people spend on next time and energy. So there's a slide, but I think most of the people here travel before they do know. All right. Yeah. Okay, anything else? How many questions you get maximum, huh? Next.
I'm retired. No, hopefully the trip goes through, if everybody's looking forward to it, you know, we are, and, most of them from this area. Maybe be arranged and wait for like a small bus next to the airport.
Very interesting concept. We can look at that.
Instead of 15 people driving to the airport, stay one trip.
Going silent and then was leave or bus.
Oh, I don't know.
Limo. Okay, good.
And then we'll pass.
All right, I'm gonna have to make a note. Actually, you can email me, but I'm gonna. Okay, very good. Yes, that's why I brought it in. Take my notes. All right. Chair, any questions? Voltage, 220. Yeah, it's gonna be at the back of the IP that I sent you. I think it's in. Yeah. All right, you guys, it's gonna be just like Africa trip, right?
Want to.
Okay, so if there's no more questions, Phillips from Durkan has brought
Baklava.
baklava, couple of friends. We have some numbers over there, and maybe Jennifer can pick up two numbers and
Picking numbers or handing them out?
No, the number's already there. Just pick up the two of them